You're welcome again, my friends. Today we'll be looking at Leviticus chapter 5. If you have not followed us on this marathon of the scriptures, I encourage you to do that by going through our videos from Genesis. Our promise is that we are going to cover the whole book of the scriptures, especially for those who say that they read the Bible, they can't even understand. I want to remind you again that the Bible is the manual of this universe. The Bible is the manual of the maker of the universe. If you want to live well and succeed in life, if you want to live and be a happy man, a happy woman, a happy youth, you must understand the Bible. That's why I'm positioned. I'm still your brother, Jessica Okechukwu, positioned here to help leaders and ladies from all walks of life recover their God's-given purpose. And there's nothing again man is called on earth to do rather than to fulfill the mission of God here on earth. Do you know that as your fingerprints are quite different, that's how you are wired, and you are wired with a different purpose. Another person's purpose is not your purpose. So find out what God has called you here to do and stand in His words. Depend on Him, then you succeed. Let's go on and look at the book of Leviticus. I still encourage people who have not been with us, who have not been following us, to go through the first book of the Bible so that you understand more. I still encourage you to subscribe and share the video to those who would be interested to subscribe too. Listen, Leviticus chapter 5. If a person sins because he does not speak up when he hears a public charge to testify regarding something he has seen or learned about, he will be held responsible. The person will be held responsible. Sometimes when we look at these places, we look at the laws in the land. All the laws you see today in the land are drawn in the scriptures, the Holy Bible. The person, like my fellow friends, lawyers used to say that ignorance of law is not an excuse. So, but when you are reading the scriptures spiritually, you will now understand where they have gathered these things from. Where they have gathered it from. If you don't know where the thing is coming from, you cannot make any impact. We're still going. So listen. He said, or if a person touches anything, care, if a person touches anything ceremonially unclean, whether the carcasses or unclean wild animals, or of unclean livestock, or unclean creatures that moves along the ground, even though he is unaware of it, he has he has become unclean and is guilty. When word come like this, you know why they say when you have touched something contaminated, I think doctors, you people are very good in this. They say go and clean up, go and clean up. It came to a time something happened in the land that they call COVID, which has never happened since the beginning of the world. And it came COVID-19 came, and what they could found then is that whenever you do anything that you wash your hands, that in your hands is easily contaminated. You contact some of those things in your hands. So the your hands is not guilty, but you who has contaminated. That's why he said, "Oh, sanctify your hand, wash your hands." That's in the physical. That's in the secular. I know if you will remember my video, go to Facebook and look for it. My video on COVID-19. I was going with that. What God? I was going with washing up of my hands in the morning when I came out to pray with my family. And God intervened. God said that COVID-19 is not for my children. COVID-19 is not for my children. And I made the video and I knew, I still remember that Facebook is still with the video. You can still ask Facebook to give you the video. That's the word. When we say we are prophets, we hear from God to speak to people. Some people say there is no prophet again, that the time of prophet is over. Yes, time of prophet is over to only those who have received Christ. Listen again. Time of prophet is over to only those who are believers, who are born again. If you have not seen my video where I say that God will not give his child his message, a message to another person, to his child in this time, because in earlier times he spoke to our forefathers through the prophet, but in this time he's speaking to us through his son, Jesus Christ. So the Lord said COVID-19 is not for my children. Imagine, I learned very great from it when God said it's not for my children. I know that we are in the world, but we are not of the world. God knows why he decided to train his servants so that they will reach the world. He used them as people he will use to change the land. Who is the change maker? God is the change maker. Using us, we are just vessels. That's why God have decided that this time that people, the vessel who will purge himself very well, will be among the people he will use in changing the world. And I encourage you to be part of people whom God are calling or whom God will choose. I encourage you. Let's go on. If you are not understanding, go over it again, then you will understand. And he said, or if he touches human uncleanness, anything that would make him unclean, even though he is unaware of it, when he learns of it, he will be guilty. Listen, that's why when you a child of God, you learn from his feet. If God directs you, you will not fail. But if you are directed by the world, you will fail. And God said, you will be guilty. You will be guilty. The person will be guilty. Why? Because our God is not God of favoritism, according to the scriptures too. And since I come to know God, God is not God of favoritism. His words remains. That's why he has called you to study. That's why you are called in this meeting to study. So that those places you think I'm not guilty, the Lord say you will be guilty of it, whether known or unknown. Remember, I reminded you of what learned friends used to say. Ignorance of law is not an excuse. The same all over the world. Where did they learn it from? They copied from scriptures. Whether the person said, I don't believe in the Bible, but everything you see here on earth, because the Lord has declared and said that the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof, supporting the world as a creator. He created the heavens and earth. Listen, let's be going so that you understand more. Then, if a person thoughtlessly takes an oath to do anything, whether good or evil, in any matter, one might carelessly swear about, even though he is unaware of it. In any case, when he learns of it, he will be guilty. Are you understanding it? Whether you know it, whether you don't know it, you'll be guilty. You see why it is important to study the scriptures, to know the mind of God who has sent you here on earth. You know you're a pilgrim here on earth. You were sent here on earth for a purpose. And God decided to bring you here on earth for this purpose. Remember, we are learning about Leviticus, the method of worship in the ancient Israel. This one is that God is directing, this is how my worship will be. Remember, I told you that most of these things you see as laws, a symbol of what is to come. When we get to the New Testament, I will open your eyes more so that you understand what God is actually telling you in the Old Testament. I encourage my friends who say that the Old Testament is obsolete, is irrelevant. It's not irrelevant for those who don't know the scriptures. It is. It is a word God breathed, all of them. The New Testament, the Old Testament, and God breathed. Some people say the New Testament is not. You cannot learn the Old Testament. You cannot understand the Old Testament without going through the New Testament. I try to break these things so that you understand it more. The New Testament, the Old Testament, and the New Testament are very important. And that's what makes the word complete. Everything in the Old Testament talks about Christ himself, pointing on Christ. In the New Testament, Christ became man and made his dwelling among us. And when we are small, when we don't know anything, he said, God is spirit. Any eye that sees God will die. I want to tell you, in the book of Joel 2:28 says that in the latter days I'll pour my spirit upon all flesh. Their daughters They have brought us this paraphrase. Everyone about you will dream dreams, you see visions. That's how God speaks. You receive so many things by way of trance, by way of symbol, by way of dreams. It's only God that knows how He has decided to teach man so that man will walk in His precepts. And if you a man living and you say that I don't care, I don't want to be part of it, you're on your own, because God will never be interested with any man who say that he's not interested in his words. God's words are pure and remained pure, and he cannot change anything because of you. He said, when don't come up to say, I did not know. It's in your hand to go and learn. Because God said, if because of some of the things that is happening there, so that you will not be tossed with any type of wind, that that's why I'm positioned to help leaders and ladies from all walks of life recover their God-given purpose. You will understand the scriptures if you decide to. Everything based on decision. If you have not seen my video on that where I talk about decision, go and look for it. Anything you will be, you have to decide first. Anything you will build, you have to decide first. In matter of fact, everything starts from you. It starts from you. And if you now understand the mind of God, that this thing starts from you, then you know you will excel. And I want you to excel. That's why I am here positioned. If there are tough questions that you don't understand, go to our videos, look at them, you will see the email that you reach us. Ask your questions. Tell us where you want us to help you out. We are ready.